And when we talk about healthcare, healthcare is essential for any human that's living, but we also understand that with that healthcare, there's also pharmaceutical care, specialized treatments, and also treatments on regular primary care basis. So please don't allow that access to medical care go by the wayside.
Absolutely. No, good information there, right? And it's so hard sometimes for veterans to navigate the process of actually applying for these benefits, right? So, in the second chapter there, we talk about, how that process can be overwhelming. So, what we want you to, I guess, talk about here with us today is what are some of the most important tips that you can give someone when starting the VA disability claims process?
So, one of the most important tips, and I'm sure you guys have always heard me say this, right? If you have been tuned in to Prepare to Compete podcast, you know that Mr. Davis is going to tell you to have your records. Your service medical records. That are one of the first things that you want to access. That's one of the first things that you're going to want to make sure you obtain. Okay? Keep track of all records. Okay? It's very, very important, whether if it's, again, your medical records, whether it's your personnel records, whether if it's your DD-214, whatever, what have you. Get access to them. Okay? That is one huge tip that most veterans miss out on. And a secondary tip would be this, is that if, again, that you are denied your benefits, there's always action plans to be developed and how you can be able to receive those, okay? But you must kind of understand the ins and outs, ups and downs of how it works. Because if you don't, you need to get the help. You need to receive the assistance, all right? Let's not listen to the scuttlebutt talk. Tip number 3, let's listen to the professionals who are going to be able to assist you down that pathway. Okay? Let's not hear what our buddy has to say or this. Listen, if you haven't went down the pathway of understanding and being and actually putting in the 10,000 hours, I'll tell you right now, 9 times out of 10, a lot of people are, if they can't provide a regulation of what they're telling you, it's probably not true. Because I can tell you right now, there's a regulation that's going to be stated with everything that we provide. Okay? Again, but we have a ton more tips in our Learning Center. Please come on down.
No, absolutely. So now you're talking about that scuttlebutt talk, right? And, there's a lot of different misnomers and kind of common myths that veterans have when applying for their benefits. So we definitely know there's a lot of misinformation out of there. And we want you to just educate our veterans listening here on the biggest myths and misconceptions when applying for their VA benefits.
Wow. I've heard some of the some of the most craziest myths, but one I will tell you guys is this: is that most veterans are automatically denied the first time. That's a huge myth, you guys. Okay, that's a huge myth. Not saying that veterans don't get denied wrongfully, okay, and unjustly. No, we're not saying that. However, there is specifically supposed to be no attitude, bias, or essential opinion provided within your claim that is going to negatively impact you based upon just you being a veteran. No, it's all going to be based upon evidential facts and proven linkage to service. Okay? So with that being said, we want to kind of scale back the understanding of that the VA is out to get us. It's not always the case, okay? Sometimes there are difficulties navigating the process, but I'll tell you right now, it is not just you. It is not just you. There's millions and millions of veterans who are actually going through the same issue that you're going through as well. So now get the support you need.
Absolutely. Definitely get that support, right? And I know we've talked about medical records and, having those and being able to always really have your file, right? You definitely want to always have your file before you're filing for your claim because it's going to be an important step there. Now with that, you want to have much more documentation, right? And we're talking about myths and we're talking about different things that are out there in the community. Veterans are talking about nexus letters, right? So we want you to kind of explain to us a little bit more, what is a nexus letter?
Very simple, you guys. A nexus letter is nothing but a medical opinion. Simple. Let's not overcomplicate it. Let's not make it what it isn't. It is simply a medical opinion provided by a medical provider. Black and white. Okay? Now, the issues that we go through that we're trying to get service connected isn't black and white. The issues that how we get it service connected isn't black and white. However, when we're talking about a nexus letter, it is simply a medical opinion. That is it.
Okay, got it. Because a lot of people feel like a nexus letter. Hey, that's gold, right? Mm-hmm. That's what I need to get my condition service connected. So, can you talk about whether it carries that kind of weight, and if it does, why is that so essential to getting certain conditions service connected there?
Well, there's so many different opinions. There's so many different factors when we're talking about being service connected. Just because you have a nexus letter doesn't mean that you're going to be automatically service connected. That's not how it works, okay? When we're talking about 3 prongs of service connection, we're talking about incidents in service, we're talking about current diagnosis, and we're talking about a medical opinion, all right? That is the basic of the basics, okay? Outside of that, anything thereafter, that's when we're going into the weeds of things. So and just because you receive a nexus letter doesn't mean, oh, this is golden, because who are you receiving the nexus letter from? Is that probative weight is going to carry further or heavier than the VA's medical opinion? We don't know. There's so many different factors when you're talking about these things in regulatory manners that you must navigate and overcome to be able to get to the success of your case file. So, like I said before, each condition that is being claimed, we must figure out the best strategy that's going to be helpful for you. And how do you figure out the best strategy? Understanding the laws, understanding the regulations, understanding if it's a causative based upon what is in your records. Is it going to be something that we can actually even provide a nexus letter for? Or if it's a nexus letter even warranted? Because we know presumptive claims doesn't necessarily need a nexus letter. But what we do understand is that we need to actually put ourselves in the time, place, and circumstance. So it's very, very concise on what's needed, but it's also a little convoluted on how we get there.
Absolutely. So now you mentioned different types of service connection, right? And, want to talk about secondary conditions here. Because obviously there may be situations where, hey, I hurt my left shoulder in service and I have that incident, but now my right shoulder bothers me as well. That would be considered possibly a secondary service connection. So I want you to kind of break down how secondary conditions are able to be service connected and what is usually classified as a secondary condition.
Secondary service connection, secondary conditions are, really something that is really caused by a current service connected condition. Okay. So veterans, let me tell you, when a decision maker or adjudicator comes across your desk and they see that your hearing loss has caused your right knee pain, it's an automatic denial. So let's make sure that we understand that when we're talking about the causative nature on how to go down that pathway to be able to get service connected, let's make sure that a pathway of understanding for those secondary conditions could actually be causative in nature. All right. So understand that secondary conditions, they happen very often. However, now let's travel down the pathway on how it could happen. Okay, because there's a ton of secondary conditions. We can claim anything secondary based upon what we want to claim, but is it causative to be able to actually be service connected? That is the real key, right? That is the real key. And what supports that is definitely having your medical records with you.
Absolutely. And in gathering those records there, right, and applying for VA disability compensation, the goal for many veterans could be getting 100% permanent in total, right, which is just one classification of being 100% disabled there.